What's good? My name is Mike Schubert, and I am the creator, host, and producer of the podcast that you are currently listening to, The Newest Olympian. Through this podcast, I am on a quest. I'm on a quest to answer a very important question. Are we, as a society, myself included, collectively sleeping on Percy Jackson? As I'm recording this in 2021, I am 29 years old, meaning I was a little bit older than the target demographic for Percy Jackson when the books first released, but that's no excuse. People read children's novel series and YA series all the time later in life. Look at me, for example, Mike Schubert, the creator and host of Potterless, a podcast where I read the Harry Potter books for the very first time starting at age 25. And though I have not read a single page of any Percy Jackson novel, I have heard nothing but great things about these books from Percy Jackson fans. And it's surprising to me that a book series with such positive reviews from its readers doesn't have the same level of notoriety and acclaim as other YA series such as Harry Potter or The Hunger Games. So if you are like me and you've never read the Percy Jackson series before and you read along with the show, we are going to be able to find out if Percy Jackson is the young adult series that we should have been reading the entire time. And if you're already an established Percy Jackson fan, you can take a trip down memory lane and also feel vindicated if we do ultimately decide that this book series deserves to be so much more popular than it currently is. Now, there are certainly some things you could point to as to why this book series didn't pop off like some of its counterparts did, mainly that the movies are apparently hot garbage sauce. But we will address that as we make our way through the series. The podcast is going to begin with the main Percy Jackson series, but after I finish those books, I will move on to the extended Percy Jackson and the Olympians universe. But before we get into any of that, episode 0, why are we here? Why are we not starting right away with book 1, chapter 1? The purpose of this episode is to let you listeners know exactly how much I know about the Percy Jackson universe before I begin reading. And basically, the amount that I know is nothing. I know next to nothing about Percy Jackson and the Olympians. So here goes. It's going to be pretty quick. I do know that Percy Jackson and the Olympians was written by Rick Riordan? I do not know how to pronounce his last name, but I do know that he wrote the books, and I also know that he seems to be a nice guy. And I also know that there are some spin-off books in the series, some of which were written by Rick, and other ones that are under the Rick Riordan/Riordan Presents title written by other authors. As far as the content, I think the main character is Percy Jackson, but I do not know this for sure. I don't know, maybe it's a Legend of Zelda thing where the name of the franchise isn't named after the character that we follow. I'm pretty sure Percy Jackson lives in America. I'm pretty sure he lives in New York City. I know that the first book of the main 5 is The Lightning Thief. I know the last book is The Last Olympian, hence the name of this podcast being The Newest Olympian. It's me, Mike Schubert. I'm the titular Newest Olympian. I know the Greek mythology plays a major factor in this series, but I'm not exactly sure how. I don't know if Percy Jackson is a Greek god himself. I don't know if he will meet Greek gods. I don't know if he has Greek god ancestors. I don't know if he has Greek godlike powers. I know almost nothing. I would assume he steals some lightning, but I'm really not sure what this kid can do or what his journey looks like. I think that's what's going to make this podcast especially fun. With Potterless, I knew some Harry Potter stuff. I knew some spoilers. I knew some of the arcs of the characters. I know legitimately nothing about what happens in the Percy Jackson series. I could not name one other character besides Percy Jackson, and I don't even know if he's in the books. I think he is, but I'm not positive. I don't even know if the Greek gods are actual characters, but I do know a little bit about Greek mythology itself. My knowledge of Greek mythology comes from 2 very reputable and highly respected sources, the Disney classic animated feature film Hercules and the highly lauded award-winning video game Hades. Here's what I know about the Olympian gods, which I'm assuming will show up in some way, shape, or form in the books since it is called Percy Jackson and the Olympians. So first off, we've got Zeus. I know that he is father of the gods. He's the big dog in charge. He's a big lightning guy, and he definitely likes to get busy with people on Earth. He's quite known for that. I know he has his wife, Hera. I don't know what she is the goddess of, but I do know that Zeus does not deserve her. Then we've got Zeus's brothers, Poseidon and Hades. Poseidon, I'm a bit biased towards because in Hades, the video game, he is like your fun uncle and just a very silly character. But I'm pretty sure in other Greek mythological stories, he's a bit problematic. I know that he is god of the sea, and then Hades is god of the underworld, not god of the dead. That is a common misconception. That's Thanatos. But Hades is god of the underworld, and I'm pretty sure that after the Olympians defeated the Titans and / Kronos, the three brothers, Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades, split up who was in charge of what. Zeus got the heavens, Poseidon got the earth, or at least the sea, and Hades got the underworld. Moving on to some other gods, I know Athena is a warrior type. I know that she is the goddess of wisdom. I know you should not mess with Athena. Aphrodite, I believe, is the goddess of love. I know that she is usually scantily clad and perceived to be very pretty. But also, all of the gods in Hades are absolutely gorgeous, so I don't know who's supposed to be considered attractive and who isn't. I just assume all of the Olympians are super hot. You've also got Hermes. I know he is the speed guy. He's got the winged sandals. Very cool. He's also got the medical staff thing. I don't know if Hermes actually has anything to do with medicine or if the medical industry just saw the snakes around a plus sign and were like, yes, that's our logo. We need that. But I know he's quick and I know he's a messenger, and that's about it. You've got Ares, the god of war, loves to fight, loves to punch, loves to use a sword. Very intense. Artemis is goddess of the hunt, and I'm pretty sure she is not about the get busy with people on Earth life. Dionysus is a big party dude. I don't know if he's the god of wine or the god of parties or both, but the bullet points I know about him are he likes to party, he likes to drink, and he likes to make sure everyone's having a good time. Then you've got Demeter. I believe she is goddess of agriculture of sorts. I know in Hades, she's turned into basically the snow goddess, but I don't think that's her entire deal. I think that was a specific plot thing in Hades, but I know that she's got something to do with growing stuff. And then I'm familiar with some other gods like the Furies and Nyx, but those are not Olympic gods, and this book series is called Percy Jackson in the Olympians. So let's just move on, since I've already described how much, or little, I know about the Olympians. Beyond the story, though, I know a few other things about the PJO world. I know that they made movies that were disappointing. I believe fans were disappointed in the movies because they weren't similar to the books. But on the flip side, I know that there was a Lightning Thief musical, and people love it. People thought it was very, very good. I'm also familiar with the fact that Rick Riordan and the Disney crew are making a Disney Plus show called Percy Jackson and the Olympians. I know that it's supposed to come out in 2022. The first season's going to be 8 episodes. That's about all I know there, but hey, cool, they're making a show out of it. As far as what I will be covering on this podcast, I will begin with the main books going in order. I will go over one or multiple chapters with at least one guest who has read the books before, is knowledgeable with the whole story, and can answer any questions that I may have, but they won't spoil me or you on what's to come. And because I am an adult that will be reading a bunch of young adult novels, I will probably take an overly critical eye towards these books, but honestly, I've heard nothing but good things about them, so maybe I won't have anything critical to say. We'll just talk about some of the deeper meanings and themes found within the story. The number of pages we cover will vary based on how dense those chapters are, but every episode will be about an hour in length. Once I finish the main books, we will move on to some of the other spin-off material. Let's see how long it takes for me to read these 5 books, but I definitely will be covering more than just the main 5 books in the series. We'll also do some fun episodes in between books within a series and in between series themselves. One example of an episode that could happen in between books is something about the Greek mythology within that book with a guest who is a Greek mythological expert. And you can help us determine what to cover in those interstitial episodes if you support the show on Patreon. More on that later. I'd also like to take the time here just to cement it in episode 0 that Rick Riordan, if you are listening to this right now, you always have an open invitation to come on the pod. You can come on for as long as you want to talk about whatever you want. Basically, open invitation for you to chat with me about these books and characters whenever you would like to do so. Now, this journey through the Percy Jackson series is not just a solo journey. One of my favorite elements of Potterless was the community that formed around it, and I want to foster a similar community here here with the newest Olympian. Now, I realize that many of you listening might be using this podcast as a sort of book club because maybe you are like me and you also didn't read the Percy Jackson books, but you've heard good things and you want to read along with the podcast. I think that's fantastic. And maybe you're on the other end of the spectrum where you are a Percy Jackson superfan and you're already gearing up to scream at me while listening to this podcast in your car, correcting any mistake that I might make. That is also fine too. If you want to be an active member of the newest Olympian community, there are a couple of ways to do so. First, we have 2 Facebook groups. So we have a Facebook page, facebook.com/newest Olympian, and there are 2 groups within it, a spoiler-free group and a spoilers aplenty group. If you've read the books before, you can join both groups. If you haven't read the books, you might want to join the spoiler-free group. If you don't care about spoilers, you can join both and do whatever you want. I'm not your mom, but these groups are places for the community to come together, talk about the books, talk about the podcast, talk about whatever. Beyond Facebook, we will have a Twitter and an Instagram account at Newest Olympian. You can get in touch with me there. And also, we will have a patron-exclusive Discord. Similarly, within this Discord, we will have a channel where spoilers are allowed, where spoilers are prohibited, and you can talk about whatever. And you can get access to this Discord by supporting on Patreon. If you go to thenewestolympian.com/Patreon, you can check out our Patreon page where you can support the podcast and support my endeavors in being a full-time independent podcast creator. And for supporting the show, you'll get access to a bunch of bonus features like this Discord, but also bonus episodes, director's commentary, exclusive merchandise like enamel pins, and so much more. Logistically, this show will come out weekly on Mondays, except for months in which there are 5 Mondays. Just because as a full-time podcaster, I don't get things like paid time off or holidays, so I'm trying to build in days where I force myself to breathe and sleep and relax like a regular human being ought to. If you want to follow along with this podcasting journey, you can subscribe to wherever you are currently listening to this, whether that's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Pocket Casts, all of the above. You can find the newest Olympian wherever you would like to. You can learn more about the podcast, such as what chapters we will be covering on upcoming episodes, on our website, thenewestolympian.com. So thank you so much for listening to this initial episode 0 of the newest Olympian. I hope you will continue and listen to future episodes of the podcast. I hope you enjoy these episodes and seeing me, and potentially you as well, develop into someone who knows everything about Percy Jackson, starting from someone who lacked some or all knowledge, to be frank, about Percy Jackson. And until I cross your ears again, I've been Mike Schubert, aka Lack Some Jackson.